Kabbalah for beginners, the destruction of the temple. Hello everyone, and welcome back to our show, Kabbalah for the student, for beginners. We're in a special period in time. It's called in Hebrew, Bein HaMeltzarim, a few days before the 9th of the month of Av. And today our show is about the destruction of the temple. And I would like to ask Rav Leitman, what is really the destruction of the temple in internality according to Kabbalah? It's a very deep, profound, broad, sad topic, so it seems we're always with this destruction for 2,000 years, and before too there was the destruction of the first temple. Destruction, it means that you have something which is destroyed. The people of Israel that previously were on the degree of bestowal and reciprocal love another as thyself, as Rabbi Akiva said, that we have to keep this rule, they couldn't keep it. And then the temple in the hearts of Israel was destroyed. They fell into unfounded hatred, and that's called destruction. As a result, the temple in Jerusalem, a nice temple, was also destroyed. It was the center of the nation, but that's already a result. The sages, they knew in advance, who were Kabbalists, they knew that the destruction will also come to the corporeal reality in this world, because there is the decline of generations and hatred. The hatred is revealed between us, and thus the destruction was already undergoing a process, and an ongoing process. And from that moment that we fell from bestowal and reciprocal love, being such people, because we're a people when we're connected together. This is how Abraham founded us. He founded us this way as we came out of Babylon as a group of students, which he taught love and bestowal, chesed, mercy. And when we fell from this, it means that we fell into a state of destruction. And after the destruction, there's always a long period, a very unpleasant period, called exile. There's a difference between exile and destruction, because during the destruction, there's still a feeling of where did I fall from, what I lost, what did I have, where did I fall to, from a high mountain to a deep valley. And in exile, there's no longer this precise feeling that I've lost something, but I simply feel bad. Like now, if we'll ask people, did you lose something? People don't even know what. They don't remember. What are you lacking? They can't say that I'm lacking something that I once had, spirituality. The feeling of godliness, a whole, full, entire life where I felt the upper dimension. No, I feel that I live inside my beast for such and such period of time, and that's it, meaning the sensation of destruction and descent is not felt, and that's exile. And we are in the last exile that's coming to its end, and we are on the verge of ascension, of redemption. Yes? You talk about something very internal. The destruction, it's internal. The temple, it's internal. The exile is internal. On the other hand, in all the stories we see very elaborate explanations and descriptions about how people came in and burned and this and did that. If it's internal, why was there so much attention dedicated to externally explaining it? Kabbalah explains to us that all happens in our world happens by upper forces. Where we have the upper world, we have a partition, and forces come down from the upper world into our world, and here in our world they operate matter. still, vegetative, animate, speaking. Different things in our world, generally in universe, and also on our planet Earth. And what we have here is called branches, and above we have roots, and there is nothing down below unless it is precisely operated from above as a force that comes down and obligates its branch to behave one way or another. Thus, before the destruction of the temple, say here we have the temple that was, well, the rocks and wherever it stood in Jerusalem. Against this, you have the Malchut of Atzilut, the Malchut of the world of Atzilut, which already was in a state of ruin a long time before that, in roots, where later on this power of destruction came down and realized the destruction in corporeality. And thus the Kabbalists, back then it was a generation where everyone was in a sensation of the upper roots, of the upper nature, feeling the Creator, managing and controlling and balancing all these powers and providence, so they knew in advance what's going on in our world. And there are writings about how they knew what will happen. 70 years before the destruction of the temple, the light started to leave. Also, different signs started disappearing from the temple, that sanctity is leaving, meaning that all these roots start to exit upwards, and then if it's mere matter left without connection with the roots, then external forces come, of course, Romans or other forces, and start ruling. And thus we came to destruction also in our world. And if we want to influence our situation here in this world, we can do it only through the upper roots. Thus Kabbalah is revealed in our times and explains to us how can we really make this correction in this world. Because the world is entirely reaching general crisis, general collapse, and we see that it's in need of correction. Yes, Owen? The temple was destroyed because of unfounded hatred, as you said, as it's written. And if we're talking about correcting our situation today by love, it kind of sounds like science fiction. I don't think that you'll find a country with more unfounded hatred than our country, between people, between different currents, between whatever you focus yourself on, will find unfounded hatred. So how can we think at all about coming out into a reality of love, of connection? On the one hand, it's true, because it says that when Israel, they ascend above the angels, and when they descend below, lower than than the entire world. We're the ones that we broke. The nations of the world, they didn't break. We left Babylon. Abraham, our patriarch, who revealed Kabbalah, and he wanted to correct the general crisis. All of humanity they were in one place back then. He wanted to correct the state back then, and no one listened to him. No one but a few thousand people. He took them and brought them here to the land of Canaan. And the rest of the Babylonians, corresponding to the hatred that developed in them, they dispersed. It was also destruction, the Tower of Babel that they wanted to build, and it was destroyed. And they dispersed all over the world, but they were never in sanctity. They were never in the revelation of the Creator. But we, after Egypt, when we came to be one man in one heart on Mount Sinai, it's a great rule of the Torah. And we really became as a people. This is called the people of Israel, because without a connection between us, we're not people, we're simple Babylonians. And when we became the people of Israel, we exist this way in the first temple. That's a very exalted degree, Mochin Dechaya. It's really one before the final correction, the complete redemption that is future to come. And then when we once again went into exile, we returned with Koresh. We reached the second temple. It wasn't a breaking yet. It was only a small fall from the first temple to the second temple. And when we build the second temple, we've reached Mochin de Neshama. We learned this in Kabbalah. It's written in many pages and very precisely. And when we've reached Mochin de Neshama in the second temple, all the people were in recognition of godliness. The people of Israel called the people Yashar Kel, directly to the Creator, a people that are feeling the spiritual world, that it's here, not in some galaxy. The people had a feeling that they're together with upper force. It's not imagination. That's a way of living. They sensed it in the spiritual senses that each one had, because to the extent to which you are in bestowal onto others, that means they have spiritual senses, and you can feel godliness. You can feel that which is outside you if you are in bestowal. And thus we were, till the ego rose, and gradually they started descending, the people of Israel, until Rabbi Akiva started yelling, "What are we doing? Where is love in others, thyself?" and so on. And it didn't help. With the 24,000 students, this is what happened. And then they fell. They fell from that place, but when they fell, it was also it was the decline of generations, gradually throughout dozens and even hundreds of years. And thus those who fell, they had time to write the book of Zohar and other things, the Talmud Bavli and other things. It's a long period after the destruction. And later on we really forgot that we were in such a state. We altogether stopped feeling that there is such a thing. And today you talk to people, they think you're unrealistic. What are you talking about? What spiritual world? Let me feel something. We've lost all these senses, the entire feeling. It's not a destruction like you say, but it's exile. Yes. So, in continuance to what Owen asked and what you said, if you'll ask today people if they have a need to rebuild the temple, most of them will tell you yes, because of pride, or they'll tell you that it doesn't interest them. The question is, how can people who want to achieve this connection, how can they achieve it if they don't if they don't want it? First of all, you have to understand, why is it needed? Why is it necessary? Because if there's such a thing as destruction and as exile and redemption, it's not that we simply fell, we were good kids and now we're bad kids. No. But it's a part of the plan of creation. It's a part of the plan, and we were supposed to undergo it to begin with. And Abraham asked, how will I know that I will inherit? What he asked the Creator actually is, how will I know that we'll reach the final correction? And he told him that your people will be foreigners in the land that is not theirs, meaning that you'll fall into exile and destruction, and you'll achieve such kelim by which you can achieve the final correction. The final correction, listen to the words themselves, it means that you have something to correct. What does it mean that I have something to correct? It means that I have a tremendous, terrible ego, and inside it there are sparks of bestowal. you a bit of something from sanctity that I can develop, that one against the other, that we're in these two powers and I'm working together with them. By the reforming light, I draw upon myself light. This is during the studying of the Zohar, especially then it comes down upon me, and then I use this light in order to increase the spark in me against the great ego and to prevail one over the other. This is the correction we have to make, but this is after all the vessels are ready for correction. Now we're reaching a state that these kelim are gradually advancing towards a state where they're ready to correct. It says that the people of Israel went into exile only in order to add to themselves the vessels of reception. What's the connection? The connection is simple. Those Babylonians that Abraham couldn't correct, everyone has to correct them. They have to all be corrected. And how? So the people of Israel have to undergo the 4 exiles and 3 redemptions. And the difference between Galut, exile, and Geulah, redemption, is only the letter Aleph, the Creator, Alufo Shel Olam, that you reveal. And in the last redemption, we're intermingled enough with the rest of the world in order to pass on to them a part of where we fell from. And then all the souls today entirely, there's the ego, and next to the ego there are the sparks from the higher state. So first of all, it's in Israel, in us, and in the 10 tribes that have to yet be revealed. Soon it will be revealed. And later also in the nations of the world, but differently, in a different intensity. First of all, it's in us, those who went through the destruction of the first and second temples and the exile. Thus, we first of all have to correct ourselves. We have this preparation in the greatest intensity. Later, it's the tribes that went into exile from the first temple, and later the nations of the world. So gradually the whole world will come to correction. And the preparations, we've finished the preparation for it. I understand the process you're talking about, that first of all Israel have to correct, and then the rest of the world, but as if you have the assumption that all of Israel have awoken towards correction. I see people here in Israel that they're not aware of this at all. No problem, because our matter is the will to receive, the will to enjoy, and thus we're extremely sensitive to suffering. A bit suffering is revealed, we're ready for everything. All people. Any creature, living, still, vegetative, each one is sensitive to pressure, and thus no problem to oblige us to do anything. Only what is going on in the meantime is that we have the opportunity to make the correction by way of light, to draw the light by the wisdom of Kabbalah, and to advance to this nice remedy by the so-called Torah and the reforming light. If not, then, as it says, I send you a king like Aman that will repent you against your will. And then, of course, there will be very severe problems all over the world and will suffer. And first and foremost, we, through anti-Semitism that will feel in all ways, shapes and forms from all over the world. So we're really concerned about disseminating the wisdom of Kabbalah here in Israel, because from here the correction spreads in this chain reaction all over the world. And let's hope that we'll succeed bringing our whole world in a nice, easy way to the final correction that is set before us, and not through great suffering. Yes, let's follow you. Let someone else ask besides you. But if actually here are the branches. It's a parallel to what happens in the world of roots. It's some kind of a reflection. So all that we think as Chinese, religious, Muslims, up above in the roots is the same. When you say Babylonians, what are the Babylonians in the spiritual world? All the people in this world, they're the Babylonians. It's not Ahmadinejad with his parliament. It's all people today. They're called Babylonians. I merely call them due to the place of their origin, where all of humanity came from. The entire civilization back then was in that area, and it included all of humanity, all of today's humanity. It sounds as if there is some one part that is foreign. And many times you compare man, person, or general humanity to one body. We're all one body in our root, but a part of this body underwent correction, descent, corruption, so that during the time of descent it will have corrected parts, so-called sparks. We were above, we received light, we've descended, we fell, and then we're below, but along with this light. Why was there an ascension? In order to fall along with some charge from above, so-called sparks. And then, from the light that I had during the ascent, when I fell, I have this thin candle, a spark, and now, by pulling the reforming light, by the studying of the wisdom of Kabbalah, I increase this candle, this spark, and it turns in me into a light, and by this light I correct my ego, that also becomes good. And thus, instead of unfounded hatred from the ego towards others, I reach love. Let's advance a bit. I'd like to read a text in which Bala Sulami offers a very special angle for the reason for destruction, which he said about the forgetfulness that we're in such a state. So I'll read from his introduction to Tess, item 1. At the outset of my words, I find a great need to break an iron wall that has been separating us from the wisdom of Kabbalah since the ruin of the temple to this generation. It lies heavily on us and arouses, meaning before the destruction of the temple, what we were engaged in is the wisdom of Kabbalah, and since then it stopped. And so the disconnection from the wisdom of Kabbalah is called exile, because by this wisdom we held on to spirituality. So it lies heavily on us and arouses fear of being forgotten from Israel. However, when I begin to speak to anyone about this study, his first question is, why should I know how many angels are there in the sky and what their names are? Can I not keep the whole Torah in all its details and so on without this knowledge? Second, he will ask, the sages have already determined that one must first fill one's belly with Mishnah and Kabbalah. Thus, how can one deceive himself that he has already completed the whole of the revealed Torah and lacks only the wisdom of the hidden? Third, he is afraid that he will turn sour because of this engagement. This is because there have already been incidents of deviation from the path of Torah because of the engagement in Kabbalah. Fourth, even those who favor this study permit it only to holy ones, servants of the Creator, and not all who wish to take the Lord may come and take. Fifth, and so on, and this is actually what happens. This is a result of the exile, that people don't understand that only Kabbalah, that speaks about the actions of the Creator over us, can awaken upon us the reforming light which is called the internality of the Torah of truth. And only thanks to it can we come out of the exile in a good way and return to the same state as we were in, and moreover, to transcend to the final correction, because we're in the final exile and we're before the entire redemption. But Bala Sulam, he says that the exile, the destruction, is from the days of the temple, and it's also in our generation. We're in destruction. What does it have to do with people having fear of studying Kabbalah? First of all, us being in destruction, it says that in any generation that the temple is not being built as if it is ruined, because there's no state of once in spirituality. If the state doesn't change, then it's the same, and until it ascends to a different degree and changes. Therefore, we're in a state of the destruction of the temple, and much less than that. So why does he tie it to all the doubts and thoughts that people have as a result of the darkness or as a result of the exile? We're reaching a state where we don't even know what spirituality is. We used to be in a state where people, all the people, including small children, as it says, from Dan to Beersheba, all knew laws of purity and unpurity, meaning that everyone knew all the laws. They were connected to the Creator. A person lived in two worlds. People were really in a state where all of reality was set before him. Beyond time, a person did not feel that he can die or that he dies. He felt his life inside his soul. And today we've completely lost not only this ability to feel this way, but we don't even understand what are we talking about. This is the destruction, a result of the destruction of the exile. And we're really in a state that we were never this way. In the Egyptian exile, we were in certain spiritual consciousness, the redemption, of course, after Egypt, and then the generation of the desert, we were acquiring the powers of bestowal. We were as one man and one heart, and all the sins we performed then were sins of ascension in degrees, until we've ascended to the degree of Israel, the desire you shall kill, directly to the Creator. And then we came to the temple, the house of sanctity in the heart of each and every one. And in us in general, it is the symbol that all of us together are in reciprocal love. And today, you see, he says, even those studying Torah in my generation do understand. Why do they need Kabbalah? It's enough for you. No one feels that he's in exile. It's fine. People don't understand that we're obliged to come out of exile. We ourselves have to perform actions towards it. Yes, Owen? In this good state that you've depicted, where all the kids even, this is what we read in the sources. So in this good state, how did people do business? Let's not get into it, really. I'll just say one sentence. Each one came into connection with the other in order to get a spiritual transcension out of it, in short. Otherwise, not. The goal, by all the different kinds of connections between us, was to reach spiritual transcension. No other goal, otherwise why live? I have to provide myself with essential needs, and all the rest I count only my ascension in spiritual degrees towards the Creator. That's the use from all the business if I open them. Otherwise, there's no other point. People who are in spiritual consciousness, this is how they see reality, only in this direction. There's a question from several places in Israel. Why actually this whole circle, the breaking, and if everything is predetermined? We talked about it. Look, we were in Babylon. Came Abraham and revealed godliness. Abraham, he revealed godliness. He wanted to correct the Babylonians. He wanted to ascend to raise all of Babylon. He succeeded only with a very small part. With all the rest, he didn't. All this part that succeeded to ascend are called the people of Israel. He raised them to a certain spiritual degree. Babylon remained. Meanwhile, we have to understand that Babylon, they aren't in shell, they aren't in impurity. They simply stayed the way they were. The people of Israel, they've descended into one exile lower than all the others. Now they've ascended to the first temple, went into the second exile. Came back from the second exile to the second temple. This is the level of the first temple, second temple, and fell into the big and prolonged descent where now we are here. What is the use from the exiles? I didn't draw it nicely. The use from the exile is that when I fell now in this last exile to the same level as the Babylonians. I'm included with all nations. From the first temple and the second temple, I came with the Reshimot, or Nitzutzim, sparks, bits of light that I had here on the degree of the temple, and when I fell, I myself, and the entire world are receiving them on the lower degree. So here, on the lower degree, on the one hand, I have the evil inclination. On the other hand, I have sparks, bits of light. I have both, or, like we say, I have a heart, and the point in the heart. Say I have some kli, and the point in it. What can I do? When the mixture has reached the end, it's called the end of the exile. You don't need any more than that, as it says that the people of Israel went into exile only in order to add to themselves the desires of the world. That's it. That's the purpose of the exile. All the souls got sparks, the burdening of the heart. Now we have to ascend, start correcting ourselves towards connection. What is the correction? The connection between us, to return to that same connected state like we were on, and even more. And then the wisdom of Kabbalah is revealed. What is the wisdom of Kabbalah? It's merely a means by which you can draw the light to work on what? On the spark. It increases and enlarges that spark. It becomes into light, the attribute of bestowal and love. By the light influencing you from above, you start wanting to bond with others more and more through ties of love and friendship, to reach arvut with them, to be as one man in one heart. It means that you ascend and ascend to the degree of the third temple, which is Mochin de Yechidah, higher than these two levels. And this is something that we can do by the Zohar. Thus the Zohar is revealed. Thus the wisdom of Kabbalah is revealed. Or it says, if you will not do this yourselves, I send you a king like Haman, that against your will you will repent. This has to happen for sure. Till when? Till 6,000 years. And if you'll be able to do it yourselves, please, the Zohar is revealed. The people of Israel came back to the land of Israel, received all the conditions, also pressure from the whole world we're feeling. Meaning there are enough powers so that we have to make self-scrutiny, not to shut our eyes, but to understand that there's something special, unique, and good ahead of us, and that all the people, the whole world, subconsciously blame us and feel that we harm them. They're right that we don't bring remedy to humanity. It's true, because we have the remedy, and no one else in the world does. So, thus, these are our times, very special times. We have a nice mission, and we have to think for all these destructions in which that we're undergoing. All these destructions are in order for us to have what to correct, meaning, to begin with, it was obvious that we'll undergo these destructions. The same as Rabbi Akiva, he laughed during the destruction of the temple, as it says in the Gemara. He was asked, what's going on? Why are you laughing? He said, I never believed that this prophecy will be realized, that the temple will be ruined, and later, after a certain period, will achieve complete redemption. Now, half the prophecy is realized, so the other half will be realized. Thus, if we correctly refer to that which is happening and we accept it in a way that we work with it and we advance, and there is a responsibility towards the people, towards the whole world, so we have all the kelim to realize it. Yes?
Well, regarding the relation of the world towards us, Israel, we have, without the Zohar, meaning it will not change. But if we would look today at what they want from us, then the criticism seems to focus around one point, in our relation to our neighbors.
No, not true.
Wait, but my question is, if we begin to learn the Zohar, okay, fine, yes, we'll learn the Zohar, will there be, it seems as if there won't be a change towards our neighbors, the criticism will continue. Because our neighbors are very critical of us in this.
I'm sorry, but we're forgetting this first drawing. Everything that happens in our world does because the upper forces descend to our world and pull everything like strings. And Ahmadinejad and all the others, they're like dolls. They have no free choice. The hearts of ministers and kings are in the hands of the Creator. And we're the ones who can determine what will be in the hands of the Creator. Their hearts, of course. But how will the hands of the Creator take care of them, handle them? We determine that, and they feel it and know it, and thus they're aimed at us, and not necessarily our neighbors, but everyone. It's going to be the same with the neighbors, as much as it says about our neighbors in the Zohar, that the sons of Ishmael, that they'll stand in our way of coming back to the land of Israel. You know all these things in the Zohar and the corrections of the Zohar, and it explains how to prevent all these problems, such that they'll come to Jerusalem to help you build the temple. You don't have to make any partitions between them. You have to merely bring them the upper light. That's it, and they're all ready. As it says in Isaiah.
Whose Jerusalem would this be?
Jerusalem, the capital of the world, the source from where bestowal will come to the whole world. There will be the Sanhedrin, there will be the people of Israel, that will truly be light for the nations, and everyone will connect to it, want it, because truly, through us, they'll receive the light.
But who would it belong to?
To the whole world. It won't belong to any one nation, but to the whole world. We have to understand what complete redemption means. Full redemption means that there's no difference. All know me from small to great, because my home, the third temple, shall be called a house of prayer for all nations, and all the world shall come, and that's how it's going to be. And it's all up to us, truly up to us. It'll happen today, tomorrow, or if we are rejected, then through great sufferings in a period of time, but for sure it will come. Kabbalists say that it could come through world war if we will not hasten ourselves and want to do it corresponding to what they tell us. Yes.
From Kfar Saba there is a question, and also from the virtual group in Israel. Are all these 4 exiles and redemptions, do they also occur privately in each individual person?
Yes, in the souls of Israel, yes, and the souls of the world, no. But we're already after the exile. We already need the final redemption. Yes, please.
I think we'll continue reading about these 4 exiles from Bala Sulam in an article of his called "This is for Judah." This is in Kabbalah for beginners in page 475 on top. This is also the meaning of our 4 exiles, exile by exile, which precede the 4 redemptions, redemption by redemption, up to the 4th one, which is the complete perfection that we hope for soon in our days. Amen. Exile refers to absence that precedes the presence, which is redemption. And since this absence is what prepares for the Havaya ascribed to it, like the sowing that prepares the reaping, all the letters of redemption are present in exile except for the Aleph, since this letter indicates the Aluf, the champion of the world. This teaches us that the form of the absence is but the negation of the presence. And we know the form of the presence, redemption, from the verse, "And they shall teach no more every man his neighbor, for they shall all know me, from the least of them unto the greatest of them." Now I have a question burning in me from the beginning of the program I wanted to ask you, Rav. It sounds like everything is like we have to come to these exiles, these redemptions, and there seems to be one thing that bothers us: this metal separator, this barrier. What is this about?
We don't understand what's at our disposal, our mission, the message, the goal that we have to bring to the world. We don't feel the responsibility. We don't feel that what happens tomorrow depends on us today. And really it is all solved through the revelation of the Creator. You don't have to work in concealment. You have to reveal Alufo Shel Olam, the champion of the world. The revelation of the upper force is in sense. All shall know me, to feel, to work, to sense. This upper force that is at your disposal. We needn't work here like small, blind people and to believe that, but to reveal Him. We can open for ourselves horizons, and instead, we really shut ourselves in such a really small, low, miserable, gray existence. Thus we really have to reach a state that all shall know me, from small to great. The problem is that we're actually the ones who determine when and how it will happen. Thus, we needn't claim that the people of the world somehow refer to us. Who are they? The Creator merely awakens us through them to realize our role, and anti-Semitism around the world, or all that we feel, and it will grow if we will not take all the needed steps in time. Thus, all this is only as a result of us not realizing the right actions of correction in time. There's a plan. Either we realize it, or the upper force realizes it upon us, puts pressure upon us in order for us to realize it. Yes.
You gave a certain description beforehand of a utopian state where our neighbors will come and help us to build the Jerusalem for everyone. I think this raises eyebrows for certain people, but there seems to be something of a personal exile and redemption. Can you explain it in these terms? What is this in the personal manner, not national?
No, I can't, because it's not relevant for our times. It was relevant in the past, in previous generations. where particular people attained godliness and they've achieved upper spiritual degrees. Today there's no such thing. Today we're on the verge of the complete redemption, general redemption. Thus no one can achieve the revelation of Creator on his own unless he connects to others and causes them to achieve it. This is the first thing. The other thing is that you're telling me that I'm painting future pink, that all of our neighbors will come and help us build the temple instead of Al-Aqsa. I'm talking about what's written in Isaiah, that the great prophet opens this picture for you of what will happen in the future, where if the people of Israel will want to do everything in their hearts, by this they correct the world. We don't have to do anything with our hands. It is our desire to be connected, and thus all the world follows us, and it says that they will take the people of Israel on their shoulders to Jerusalem to build a temple.
So this third temple, this high one that you explained, it's something physically or something in the desire?
It's the connection between all of us, between all the nations of the world. It's connection in love and reciprocal bestowal as one man and one heart. This is called the temple, the true spiritual temple in desire. But besides this, if you ask me, will there be such a building in Jerusalem? Possibly so, because it is a replication from corporeality to spirituality. But it's not important. What is important is what will we feel, what will we experience. Because the result in nice rocks, it will actually change nothing. Besides that, after this full redemption, we achieve such spiritual dimensions that this corporeality is swallowed in spirituality. But this is a theme that has to do with perception of reality, yes.
So, as you said, our neighbors will come and help us build the connection between us?
The whole world will participate in helping us and each and every one to build the right connection between us, such that we will be in one healthy body in a system that is connected in all of its parts. There's a young guy that wants to ask there.
We're before the 9th of the month of Av, traditionally Sen holiday. There is usually the sensation where there is an expectation for the coming of the Messiah. There was many tragedies in the past, if we know, the destructions of the temple and more. But it seems like we can't really do anything concrete at the moment. Rather, it will come.
What did you learn? What is needed in order for the Messiah to come? Deficiency. Yeah. Do we want him to come? The guys here tell me that if they ask people on the street, no one is in need of it.
That's true. Nobody needs this.
So how will he come? On the one?
Well, people do want peace and goodness.
Well, we want it because of what? The deficiency for the coming of the Messiah is that you try yourself to achieve a corrected state, and you see that you're incapable of doing it, and then you have an inner outbreak of the desire, of the cry, of the doldrums that I can't, and only then do you get such an answer of prayer which opens up the upper light for you, and the Messiah comes. The Messiah is the upper light that connects us together. This is called the Messiah. Messiah, it means that he pulls me from hatred to love. This is the Messiah. Does someone anticipate it? Do you depict the Messiah as some elderly guy with a beard? Who's the Messiah for you? Riding a white donkey?
That's exactly it. The attitude in the street, I don't know, even by religious people who talk about the Messiah, is that he must come and we have to pray 3 times a day for this.
What for?
I don't know.
But what are they anticipating? What do they expect to happen?
That the nations of the world will make us greater.
We're lacking pride. We need to also control the people of the world, not only Israel.
We see the troubles happening to the nation.
No one feel it as problems. I'm sorry.
Well, but they try to explain.
They're lacking money, honor, control. Give me that. Leave the Messiah aside. Unfortunately, that's what's lacking. We have to work a lot in order to understand that the Messiah is a power that pulls us from unfounded hatred to brotherly love. That's the Messiah.
Well, here we really have a very, very nice passage from Bala Sulam, from the introduction to the book of Zohar. He sums up everything he wrote in the introduction to one thing. When a person from Israel enhances and dignifies one's internality, which is the Israel in that person, over the externality, which are the nations of the world in him, that is, when one dedicates the majority of one's efforts to enhance and exalt one's internality to benefit one's soul, and gives minor efforts the mere necessity to sustain the nations of the world in him, meaning the bodily needs, as it is written, make your Torah permanent and your labor temporary. By doing so, one makes the children of Israel soar upwards in the internality and externality of the world as well, and the nations of the world, which are the externality, to recognize and acknowledge the value of the children of Israel.
Meaning, to the extent to which you limit all those things that have nothing to do with spirituality, to the extent to which you cleave on to modesty, to what has to do with bestowal and love, you'll see how the nations of the world respect you. That's how all of nature is arranged and organized. That's how all reality is organized. And were you to behave such, you would have received love from the whole world. What and who are they? They're in the hands of the Creator. Only you, that you're proudful, you demand control, you feel like doing what you do you set an example by doing so? You have to set an example. You have to be light for the people of the world. What do you show them as an example? And later we as if come with complaints and claims, look what's happening. The moment the people of Israel will keep what they have to keep, and it's not hard, it's merely to merit, achieve some love between us, you'll see how everything changes. Let's hope that it will happen in our times, yes.
Well, we have about 5 minutes left. Maybe we try to go over some of the terms that we've spoken about in this lesson.
You have a list of terms.
Yes. I wrote them down. What is unfounded hatred?
Unfounded hatred is that, to begin with, since I've fallen from the spiritual to the corporeal degree, then the angel of life turned into the angel of death, and without any reason I reject and hate anyone and everyone. I see that the worse someone feels, the better I feel. I build myself on the destruction of others.
What is the temple?
The temple, it's in Hebrew it's Beit, house, Amigdash, of sanctity. It means that the house is fulfilled with love and bestowal. That's called holiness. The power of bestowal and giving and love, that's called the temple.
Internality and externality?
Internality, there are many definitions to it, but internality, it means the most important, strongest thing, the most affecting, bestowing thing, and externality is the opposite, weak. Thus, Kabbalah is called the internality of the Torah, because it draws the reforming light, whereas the external Torah does not correct us. Thus, it is called external Torah compared to the wisdom of Kabbalah.
Okay, a few more terms. Israel versus the nations of the world. What's that?
Israel is called Yashar Kel, directly to the Creator, a person who has an inclination, tendency towards the Creator. It could be a group, it could be a people, it could be the whole world. Israel, Yashar Kel, directly to the Creator. This is actually the name that Jacob got in Katnut, smallness, and in Gadlut, greatness. It's called Israel. And the nations of the world is our ego in each one of us, and regardless who are you from birth, if you have any other directions than becoming like the Creator, bestowal and love, it means that you're under the control of the people of the world.
Okay, final one. Exile and redemption.
Exile and redemption, they cannot go one without the other. Thus, a person who was never in spirituality doesn't feel the so-called exile from spirituality. And what redemption does he expect? Like we just said, we forgot that once we're in spirituality, these reshimot, this impression inside us has already disappeared, and thus turns out that I have no idea where to return to and what am I lacking. Thus we're really in a critical state, and we need a lot of external powers, dissemination, and much more work between us in order to awaken in each and every one that spark that will remind him that once he was in spirituality, that once I was in light, in eternity, in wholeness, and in something that is higher than this world. So you have to awaken this, and then a person will feel that before him there is nice redemption that will come in our times speedily.
Rav Leitman, thank you for this wonderful lesson. Thank you to our viewers. We hope to destroy this metal wall and connect between us. Thank you so much.